Hello YouTube friends, welcome to Pause for Orchids. My name is Luisa and I love orchids. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for your support. If you're new to my channel, I'm glad you've joined us. Either way, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe to help the channel grow. It's all free. Today we'll take a look at a few Vandas and give them a little sprucing up, and I'm taking you along. Let's go. Okay, so I am going to take advantage of some of this time that I have with the hurricane and all going on here in Florida to work on a few of my babies that need some TLC. This one is a pretty old one in my orchid collection. I'm sure you've seen her before. I will try to put up a picture somewhere on the screen so that you can see her in her full glory. But she got so crazy big that she looked so much more like a palm tree. So I had to cut her down to size. Let me show you what her root system did look like. That was where she sat before. Very big root system. So I did a very wild thing and just cut her at the stem. Turns out that the bottom half of the stem, you can see right there, it's very woody. That means it wasn't really doing a whole lot for her anyway. Most of her active roots, see that's pretty woody is there as well too. Most of her active roots were further up above towards the top of her stem. So that's what I kept. I cut her down at the bottom where I felt like I would probably hit some of that woody part, which is no longer active anyway, so it wasn't doing her any good. And this is what I was left with, which is still a pretty good size root system. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean some of this up because there are some parts that need trimming. Some dead stuff is still on here. But if you look at this part right here, see, it's still woody. I might even be able to go a little further up because this part might still not be active. See, this is a dead root right here. So maybe I might cut her a little further up to give me a little more space to work with. And I'll check on the other roots along the way to see what's going on. I know for sure that the stuff up here is good. So from here on, I know I've got really good active roots, but I need to check on the other ones because I don't want to leave her with too few roots because she gives me very pretty flowers. See that, how pretty? Those are very pretty flowers. So I want to make sure she's got a good enough root system to keep on doing that for me. And I'm going to take you along to watch me do that. I'm going to fire up my make sure everything's nice and sanitized. I already poured a little bit of alcohol earlier today, so I know that they have that sanitation, but this is going to go ahead and kill whatever is left on that blade. And then I know that it's safe to use. I'm going to start cutting here. Yeah, definitely dead. See that? That is a very, very dead root. I hope you can see this. Very dead root. And I'm going to keep cutting. Yep. This is the part that was closest to the stem. gonna need a bigger blade. So I'll do the same with this blade so that it's nice and sanitized. And this bigger blade will make it easier for me to cut. All right, so I got a bigger blade. That's gonna make it easier for me to cut. And I'm gonna try to make sure that most of it is on camera. Yeah, that's pretty good. There's nothing below this that's worth keeping. So let's check and see what it looks like. Well, I think that's a little bit of Fusarium, but I think she's working it out. See that right there? That is the remnants of Fusarium, I think. Yeah, it's pretty purple. But whatever she had, however long she's had it, she's working it out. Because this is nice and clean. And if you look at, oops, this part, this is getting cleaner as well. See? Let me cut a little bit more to see if I can hit some clean tissue. I'm gonna go ahead and re-sanitize my blade because since I just cut through that and saw the Fusarium, I want to make sure that it's nice and taken care of so it doesn't pass the virus along further up the stem. So let's keep cutting. Well, maybe not. Alright, I'm going to keep cutting, see how far up I can go to get clean tissue. And every time I cut, I sanitize my blade. With alcohol and fire. Better safe than sorry. So that means this entire, it's okay, she's got plenty. She's got plenty of roots, so she can afford to lose a few. See this? I'm thinking maybe she needs to go further up, maybe go further up on the cut. The thing with Fusarium is that you never know until a plant actually starts to take a downturn. You don't really know if you have it in your collection or not, because you can even bring it home. I know I have from nurseries. So it's just out there. And some plants are strong enough to work through it on their own, and other plants need a little help. There is no cure for Fusarium, but if you have the ability to, and the plant is big enough and you catch it in time, you can cut off some of the affected tissue and hopefully get to a spot that it's no longer present. And I think I'm getting to that spot. So I'm going to show you the difference between the two different cuts I just made. So this is the previous cut. Trying to make sure it's focused. See right there? Kind of hard to see, but there's pink around there, all around the outline of that cut. Purple, pink, whatever color you decide you'd prefer to mention. Now on this cut, there's a lot less. See the green around the edges? And I only have this little bit left. So yeah, I'm getting rid of some decently functional roots, but I will eventually get to tissue that is nice and healthy so that it gives her a better chance of recovery from the fusarium. And again, every time I cut, I sanitize. All right, I'm going to keep working on this, and I will come back when I've reached the tissue that I'm looking for. And we are back. I got to some healthy tissue finally. Let me show you what that looks like. See, no pink. No pink, no purple, anywhere around there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray it with hydrogen peroxide, and then I'm going to seal it with some cinnamon, because I know that everything from there up is nice and healthy. Let me let that sit for a minute. And I'm going to protect those roots from the cinnamon, because since the cinnamon, oops, said that wrong, is a drying agent, I don't want the cinnamon to get on the roots. And keep those roots as healthy and happy as possible. So we need to keep it away from the cinnamon. Keep them away from the cinnamon. I'm gonna go ahead and cover them up a little bit, just to make sure that the cinnamon does not get on it. Just dry cinnamon, and it'll mix up with the hydrogen peroxide, and it'll create like a pasty seal on there. So nothing can get in to the wound. And I'm gonna let this dry. I'm not gonna put it in a pot. I'm not gonna do anything to it. I'm just gonna hang her up and let her just take time to heal from all the cutting that I did, and give that cinnamon time to work so that it dries off that end. Once that end is dried off, then I will eventually either put her in a pot or hang her up, put some pretty hangers and moss around her somehow. But I will do something with her, but I'm gonna wait until she is done healing on that. And I'm gonna go ahead and take this leaf off because it's just in the way. There we go, nice and clean. I'm gonna take some alcohol and clean all that black stuff. That's just black black mold, I think they call it. It happens to a lot of plants. Not a big deal. I'll just clean her off with a little bit of alcohol and a paper towel. And she will be just fine. Remember, I grow outside, like literally outside in the elements. So my orchids aren't necessarily in nursery pristine condition. They grow happily out there, and for the most part, they're quite healthy. They give me beautiful blooms every year. But the downside of growing outside is that they are exposed to all the elements, so they end up either like this one has fusarium. Some of them get other things. The insects is a big deal because of it as well. So when they're grown outside in the elements, you got to know that they're going to be exposed to a lot of things that they wouldn't be exposed to if they were being grown indoors. And that's okay. I don't mind it. So. And the only thing this paper towel has on it is, like I said, a little bit of rubbing alcohol. This is from when I took her out too fast from the winter, because they stay in here over winter, 3 months of winter. And when I put her out there too fast, that's what happened. She burned. But she's okay. Her new section is nice and healthy. All right, so here we are. Here she is all nice and cleaned up. I decided not to put her in a pot because every Vanda that I have had in a pot eventually outgrows that pot. And all that ends up happening is me having to take them out and clean them up like you saw me do today. And it's just a bigger mess and headache. So here she is, all nice and clean. All her roots that she's got left, which are quite a bit. It's a nice sized root system still. See? All the roots she's got left are nice and healthy. And she's got her cinnamon on her cut so that dries off nice and healthy. And there she is. Aren't those flowers pretty? She'll probably have some setback, but that is okay. She is now clean and healthy and fusarium free because I did end up catching that clean tissue that I was looking for, which means she is going to be perfectly fine. So next up is this Vanda monster that you see right there. She is humongous. She is actually one of the very first Vandas that I ever purchased. I think she might even be my very first orchid, period. And as you can see, she's in bloom and she has a new spike pushing out new blooms. She's an incredibly vigorous Vanda. She's always done very, very well for me. But because she's so old, she needs some TLC. You can see inside that pot, there's a lot of dead stuff in there that needs to be taken out. And that is what we're going to do. Looks like Hurricane Milton is a Vanda cleanup day. Hopefully She will be just fine. And those blooms will just keep on coming. Here we go. Let's give it a shot. Okay, so I'm gonna do some of the preliminary cutting off camera just because I need both of my hands and I need to be able to get on the floor to be able to cut out the roots that are good in there so that I can keep those and do the same thing that I did with the other one, get rid of the bad stuff. But I need both of my hands for all that. So I'm gonna do all that major cutting off camera, and then I will come back when it's time to take care of her roots and maybe even her stem, because I haven't seen what's in there yet. So we'll check that part out together. Okay, so here she is, all cut down out of that pot. There was a lot of stuff in that pot that we just didn't need, so I went ahead and cut at the bottom of the stem. She needed to be trimmed down anyway. So this is what we're left with. And it's not a terrible root system. I will be cleaning it up a little bit. But she's got nice healthy roots, some with even new root tips. So we're gonna be great. Let's clean her up a little bit and see what she tells us. Well, first of all, let's look at her. Her stem is really nice and healthy. There is no fusarium in there. Everything's nice and clean. You could even see the green still there. So she's doing pretty good. I may cut her a little bit further up so that it's closer to this root, and that way I'll get rid of anything that might still be dying in there. And this one's just because she's old. She's not sick or anything. There's no fusarium, or at least no proof of it right now. She's just really, really old. She's got to be at least 9 or 10 years old, because she is the first Vanda that I ever bought, and I believe she's from RF Orchids down in Homestead, if my memory serves me correctly. You saw her flowers, so she's a very, 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 very often bloomer. She's very vigorous. The one spike that she's got where the flowers are going out, let me show you. This is, oh, hard to see, but this is the spike that she has that is about to go out. These are old flowers, they're getting tired, and while this one was in full bloom, she started pushing out the second spike right here, and that still has buds coming. So she's incredibly vigorous. Usually she's got one spike in bloom and another one on its way. So I'm gonna treat this pretty girl to a spa day so that she's all nice and clean and fresh. And the first thing that I am going to do is put a little bit of hydrogen peroxide. Actually, let me make that cut first. Let's sanitize the blade just to be sure. Nice and clean. So I'm going to cut the stem a little further up. Let's take a look at it. Yep, she's good. Nice and healthy. Perfectly happy. So, hydrogen peroxide it is. And then I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the other one. Let that sit for a second. And I will seal it up with some cinnamon. Take off some of those bottom leaves because they're ugly and dirty. And then I'm going to clean her up with some alcohol just like I did the other one. Cut off some of those dead or dying leaf tips. Get my smaller shears. It's going to be easier to work with what I'm going to be doing next. And sanitize those as well. Everything's nice and sanitized, so let's get going. Vanda leaves, I know somebody who was struggling to get rid of some old leaves on a Vanda, and she saw me just break them in half and call it a day. She was like, "Oh, you can do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's the easiest way to do it," which I thought was cute because, you know, she's a beginner, and she was just trying to be so careful because she loves her plant, and I understand that. But orchids are pretty resilient. They're really tough. To kill an orchid, I think you need to actually try to kill it because they are very resilient plants, and most of them are quite forgiving. So even if you're a beginner and you mess up and, I don't know, you go too long without watering or feeding or whatever, they're pretty forgiving. I'm just going to try and get rid of as much dead stuff as possible, just so that she gets a completely fresh start. Let's see if I can turn her around a little bit so I can do the other side. There we go. I'm going to take this leaf off as well. And again, just like the other one, the black stuff that you're seeing is that black mold. It's just outside all over the place. I have oak trees on my property, and I have a couple of fruit trees. I have a lychee tree, and I have a sour orange tree. Whenever you have different varieties of plants and stuff, every plant will bring a different fungus or a different mite or a different insect of some sort that have the potential of getting on other plants. So again, when you grow outside like I do, you have to know that you're exposing your orchids to all of that. And I think I'm going to cut this one off too. I didn't see any fusarium on this one when I made the cut down at the bottom. I'm not too worried about sanitizing between cuts like I did with the other one, because there's nothing for me to take from one plant to the next. I mean, from one cut to the next. Turn it back around. I'm trying to be gentle so that those buds at the top of that new growth don't get destroyed while I'm doing all this. Then I'm going to take a paper towel just like I did with the other one, spray it with a little bit of alcohol and clean her stem up and down from that black mold and make her as pretty as can be. Oh, that one's fine. Spray this down again with a little more hydrogen peroxide. Put my cinnamon on there. Where is my cinnamon? Oh, found it. Here it is. Try and protect some of these roots. All right, I'm gonna keep cutting some of those leaves over at the top that need some trimming. Then I'm going to clean her up and I will be back. And there she is, all nice and cleaned up. See how pretty she looks? With all kinds of healthy roots. It's so pretty. Okay, so this one does not need a whole lot of cleaning up. She just has maybe a couple of roots that need trimming because she's not as old as some of my others. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with you. And then, as you can see, she's growing a little bit strange. She's growing that way from inside her basket. So I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of that and create sort of a new look. Let me get to some of this old stuff, and it's not a whole lot, so it should not take me very long to do this. See, some of these are just coming right off because they're dry. But it is not too many. She's got plenty of roots that she can work with, so I'm not too concerned about the ones I'm cutting off. Alright, I think we're good. This up, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. So, since she is growing forward that way, and she has a nice new root coming in right here, I'm going to make it so that she can sit like that, so that eventually she grow up and towards the sun, because I'm going to put her in a different spot when she goes back out. Yeah, this is a little out of hand. So let's see how we're going to do this. And I actually have two in this condition, and they both happen to be giganteas, or whatever you call that cross. Both of them are different. One of them is a cartoon, and the other one I forget what she is. So anyway, I have a wire, one of those green flower wires that I curved up at both ends, and I'm going to attempt Got one done. Yeah, the other one came out. I get one done and the other one comes out. Let's try this again. Okay. I think we got it. Seal it up a little bit so that they don't come off anymore. And I shouldn't be using this. I just don't have pliers with me right now. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, let's try something different. All right. All right, let me go get a pair of pliers and I will be back. Okay, I'm back with a pair of pliers. I'm gonna go ahead and untwist this and see if I can wrap it around the actual wood. See, I straightened them out a little bit. I'm going to try and wrap them around the actual wood planks to see if that works out a little bit better. Trying to not hurt the roots that are a little in my way. That's one. And that's two. All right. There we go. You see what I did? On one side, and then the other one was the more difficult one, but she's in place. So now she will hang like that. And eventually she will start curving upwards towards the sunlight, because I'm going to put her undercover, but still out with the other Vandas, because where she was on a bottom shelf near my house, the building of my house, and she just grew funky like that. So we're going to take advantage of it and make something pretty. Okay, this is the other one that kind of did the same thing that I told you about, only this one is more on a diagonal. So I'm going to again utilize what she's done to make it so that she hangs all nice and pretty. And the fact that she's on a diagonal actually is going to make it easier than the other one was, because I'm going to use zip ties to get myself a hold of how she needs to hang. I'm just going to use a zip tie as if it was a loop, and she'll hang like that from the zip tie. And I'm just noticing that I do have a couple of dead roots that I need to take care of real quick. Fire up the lighter to sanitize my blades. And I've got one here. Just like the other one, this one's pretty healthy, so there isn't a whole lot to cut off. But since I'm already working on her, why not? Clean her up, make her all nice and spiffy. Wow, it's a challenge getting my hand down in there. She's got so many roots inside the basket. Not complaining, just explaining. Milton's winds seem to be kicking up. But honestly, I'm loving this weather to work out here, because to do anything out here is unbearable sometimes because of all the heat. So if I'm being honest, I'm enjoying the weather. I think she's good. Yep. All right. So there's that zip tie that I added, and she's just gonna hang. So I'm gonna put her on a hook just like that. Okay, there they are. Can you tell them apart in all that green? Probably not. So let me get closer. There's the one that was in the small basket. That gave me a hard time with the wire, but she's happily hanging on her hook. And like I said, at some point, she'll do that up towards the sun because of where I'm going to put her. And then right below her is the bigger one, because she is a big girl. And she's doing great. She's going to be great in that basket. Now. And she will also eventually curve up towards the sun and live happily ever after in her new home, once Milton is gone, of course. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe so you know when I post something new. In the meantime, let's grow together and don't be a stranger. Bye!